Today, I'll be doing a speech on nonverbal communication competence. To start off, I'll start with a few simple questions. What does a smile tell you? It tells you that someone is happy, someone is in a good mood. What does a simple nod tell you? It tells you yes, or they're understanding what you're saying if you're in a conversation. A handshake, it tells you, welcoming or nice to meet you, or like kind of accepted into this situation. All of these are done without talking. You don't have to say anything to know these things, and that is the importance of nonverbal communication. And you might ask, why is this important to learn about? We all do this every day, and we all know what we're doing. Well, not necessarily. Competence, there's a lot more to it than just, reading a smile. It's essential to be able to understand how other people are feeling without even having to communicate with them, and it can lead to better understanding when you are in a verbal communication with them. Also, if there's some reason you cannot communicate with them verbally, such as they can't talk or they have speak a different language, and that'll all lead to needing to have higher levels of nonverbal competence. So we'll start off with our first type of nonverbal cue, which is gestures, and we'll start with adapters. Adapters are certain things you have that are habitual to you, such as tapping your finger as you talk, or shaking your leg, or just any sort of fidgeting that will sometimes show that you're anxious, or that you are just how you feel in a certain situation, either like a calm motion or a fidgety motion. And these things all play into reading other people's nonverbal cues. But you can use these touches onto other people, such as a tap on the shoulder, or you find a piece of lint on them, or adjust their tie, and those are all things that are nonverbal that show either that you're caring or trying to calm, or that you're anxious, doing little things, fidgety things. Emblems are things that are agreed upon within society that have a certain meaning, usually a hand gesture, such as a thumbs up or a thumbs down, meaning good or bad, or an okay, that means all is good, everything's okay. Or a wave is hi or bye. All of those things are nonverbal cues that, without that knowledge, you don't know what it means. And then illustrators are like emblems, but a little bit different. It's things that you will do with your hands, but they aren't as specific. So it's if you're describing the size of something with your hands, or with, big or small, anything like that is describing, what something looks like, what something is, how it works, something, anything with your hand that isn't super specific would be considered an illustrator. And the next one we'll go into is probably the easiest one, is facial expressions. Facial expressions are one that everyone uses all the time to describe, happy, sad, fear, confusion, like a grimace, a smile, or a frown. And all these things will tell you how someone is feeling about a certain situation or a thing. And without being able to read these, you struggle to understand how others feel when you go into a verbal communication. So a lot of times you can read how someone is feeling, just how their face looks. If they look down, sad, smile, happy, it's pretty simple. But when it comes to actually being able to read them competently, it can be kind of difficult when, for some people, if they haven't had the practice or haven't even focused on it, to be able to do it correctly. And then the last one I'll talk about is body posture. And this one is one we do subconsciously, and it's one that you might not even think about, but a lot of people can read it quite easily, or you can read others quite easily based on their body posture. So simple things such as sitting or standing. If you're standing and you're talking to someone, it usually, you're kind of in a form of dominance depending on how they're standing or sitting. And then If you're sitting, you're usually in a more defensive position, more relaxed, and um, it might not seem as if you're taking something as seriously or as attentive as if you're standing potentially, just depending on your situation. And then how you stand or sit can tell a lot. Because if, say, I stand with my hands on my hips, it seems as powerful, kind of strong move. Arms crossed could be kind of an intimidation type of standing move. Um, Other than if I'm, just moving your hands around like you're just having a normal conversation. And then how you sit can tell a lot about yourself. If you're kind of leaned back in your chair, slouched down, it could seem, relaxed. You don't really care. Um, and then if you are leaned forward or straight up, paying attention, it can show that you are attentive to what you're listening to or what you're doing. And these things are all things that you tell other people with your posture and how you can look at other people. So by just reading those very simple things, you can learn a lot about that in your conversations and just in nonverbal communication in general. Also, you can going into your verbal conversations, you can understand people better by reading their posture. So you look at someone with their head down and slouched, you can tell they're in a low confidence position right now, or rather than if walking straight up, head high, they look confident. So just going into those conversations, knowing that can potentially differ how you interact with them. And then to conclude my speech, I'll go into again the importance of this nonverbal communication. I believe that the most important aspect of nonverbal communication is in times when your verbal communication doesn't work. So such as different languages, inabilities to speak, and having this competence to understand people's nonverbal cues and social nonverbal cues is very important so that you can understand what they're feeling and what they need. Also, your needs and how you're feeling can be displayed onto other people. Because a lot of times we don't think about our nonverbal cues, but then if we do think about them, we can think differently of how we portray other people and how other people portray us, so that we can also have a better self-image of ourselves as a in our nonverbal cues, so people can understand how we feel and have better verbal communication with others. Thank you.